Samsung is giving up. It will no longer keep trying to fix its exploding Galaxy Note 7 smartphones. It's simply pulling the plug after recalling 2.5 million of them. But is it too late to save its reputation? Dewi Preece takes a look.
They say any publicity is good publicity, just not for Samsung and definitely not right now. To call its exploding flagship smartphone a PR disaster would be an understatement. And on Tuesday, the company said it's had enough. After 2 months of recalls, halting production and sales, the world's top-selling smartphone company has decided to permanently stop production of its Galaxy Note 7. It's now becoming ever more clear that the phone has burned a substantial hole in the company's pockets. Around $19 billion of its market value was wiped in South Korea, and its shares fell around 8%, its biggest daily drop since October 2008. But more worryingly for Samsung is the lasting effect this saga could leave on its reputation.
Samsung's a huge company and it's got many different streams. It's not just in mobile, it makes a huge range of electronics. And it's still got a very good brand. While it has certainly taken a beating over the past few weeks, I mean, Galaxy Note 7 is trending on Twitter at the moment because of the issues. It will dampen sales and it's going to lose some money in expected revenue, but it will recover. But it may take just a little bit longer for consumers to retrust the brand when it comes to mobile devices.
Samsung Electronics still has a market value of around $150 billion. But this latest mobile phone fiasco is likely to have a serious impact, at least in the short term, on its appeal in an ever-competitive smartphone market. Apple and Google have just launched their new flagship models and will now be hoping to attract some disillusioned Samsung users. But for Samsung, they aren't off the hook or out of the spotlight just yet. On Tuesday, the company's appearing before the US Supreme Court, trying to overturn a 2012 verdict that saw Apple awarded more than $400 million in damages, because Samsung was said to have copied the iPhone's rounded corners, among other designs. Talk about rubbing salt in the wound. Dewi Preece, TRT World.
Well, our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, has been keeping a close eye on this story and joins us now live from Paris. Craig, you really couldn't make it up, could you? Exploding phones. Can Samsung ride this out?
Oh, sure. All the talk about Samsung going belly up is overheated. The court case here that's taking place at the Supreme Court is much more important, particularly for any of our audience who are designers, because what this case is about is a very specific piece of law. Is Samsung being fined an onerous amount of money for copying Apple's design? Why is this important? Because lower courts decided that, juries decided that Samsung copied Apple's design. Now, that decision was pretty much subjective. So what this means, and this is really key, Matthew, a number of big companies have filed amicus briefs, friend of the court briefs, with the Supreme Court on either side. Calvin Klein, Microsoft, and Motorola are in camp with Apple, where you have Google, Facebook, eBay, and Dell in camp with Samsung. Because if the Supreme Court upholds this lower court's decision, what that means, a lot of companies are going to start launching litigation if they feel any designer looks to have stolen their design.
All right, Craig, you said it was a subjective decision, if you like. Well, how do you mean?
Well, there's been only one patent case in 128 years on this issue. It goes in the Supreme Court. It goes back to this carpet company. One carpet company said that they stole their design from another carpet company. So a decision on whether you've stolen a design also includes an objective reading of law, but also if people think that it kind of looks the same. It actually goes, I was talking to lawyers today about this, it's really interesting. It goes back to part of the decision here, part of the thinking process goes back to a decision in 1964. It was a case on obscenity in front of the Supreme Court. in which they were trying to decide whether this French movie shown in Cleveland was obscene or not, and these guys went to jail, and the Supreme Court said, no, it's not obscene, and Justice Potter Stewart said, well, about obscenity, he said, I know it when I see it, and this is an obscenity. So it's the same thing here. It's one's own mind's eye if a design has been pinched. You could go out and say, like, a Chevrolet might look like a Volkswagen. Does that mean you can sue? Well, of course you can sue, but it's how much are you going to make in a court? That's why this Supreme Court decision is important. This is bad for Samsung, you know, if they lose, but it's also bad for a lot of designers. But is it going to transform Samsung, you know, into an explosives company? I don't think so. They make a lot of great stuff. They've lost some market share, but they'll win it back.
Gotcha. Okay, Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you very much for your analysis.